Okay, so you know how you sent us that stuff about the Pi network?
Yeah.
Well, there's this thing they're launching. It's called the Pi ad network. And we're going to dive deep into it today. For everyone listening, this is your chance to really understand what this whole Pi ad network is all about. Like why it even matters, what it could mean, for the Pi network itself
Mm,
and for you. But we're going to try to do it without getting too bogged down with all the technical mumbo jumbo.
sounds good.
We've got some good stuff to work with here. Straight from Pi Network themselves, they lay out their whole vision, how they think this advertising thing is going to work. What we're going to do is break it all down, make sure you catch those light bulb moments, really grasp what's important here. So first things first, what exactly is this Pi ad network?
At its core, it's basically a system. It's going to let advertisers put ads within the whole Pi ecosystem.
Okay, so picture the Pi browser
Yeah,
and all those different Pi apps you can get through it.
exactly. Those are the main spots where you're going to be seeing these ads.
So it's kind of like the ads we see everywhere online already, but it's all happening within the Pi world.
Right. But here's where things get really interesting, especially for Pi Network. Their big long-term plan is that to pay for these ads, advertisers are going to have to use Pi cryptocurrency. And that is huge.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about having ads, it's about making Pi itself actually useful for
Right.
something important. That's a key difference.
Exactly. It's about creating demand for Pi.
And I heard they're starting with a trial run.
Yeah, they are. They've got this pilot program going on inside the Fireside Forum app.
Makes sense to start there. I mean, Fireside Forum is a social media app. Ads are already a normal thing there.
Right. And it's already a Pi app.
Yeah.
Uses their platform, FDK, and all that. Perfect for trying things out.
So it's a good way to test things out, see how it works in a real setting. Oh, and there's that software development kit they mentioned, the SDK.
Oh, yeah, that SDK is important. It's how they'll scale this whole thing up. Beyond just the apps made by the Pi core team. They're going to release it to all the developers out there, the ones building Pi apps.
Oh.
And that means those developers will be able to include the Pi ad network in their own apps. More ads, more places, driven by the community.
So it's not just Pi Network controlling everything. They're giving the power to the developers. That's how things really grow. Okay, but let's talk about the why here. What's the big idea behind all this? Why launch this Pi ad network?
They spell it out pretty clearly. This whole thing is about creating platform-level utility for the Pi cryptocurrency. And that's a really key concept that comes up again and again. It's like shifting gears, from just holding on to Pi to actually having important functions within the platform that actually need Pi, like how a car needs fuel to run.
Right, so it's not enough for Pi to just exist. It has to be essential to how the Pi network itself works. And of
Yeah.
course, they're banking on that huge user base they've got, all those millions of engaged pioneers.
For sure. That's a major selling point for advertisers. Pi Network's connecting advertisers to this massive audience through their ad network. And that's how they're planning to build real value into Pi. They're using their biggest asset to make Pi useful, their users.
They also mentioned something about talking about platform level utility before.
This wasn't some random idea. It's all part of their bigger plan to make a strong ecosystem that can support itself.
So it's all connected. Makes you think about the app developers too, the ones building on Pi. What's in it for them?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is money. They can make money. This gives them a way to actually earn something from all the people using their apps on the Pi platform, through the Pi browser, right? Apps cost money to run, and this gives them a potential revenue stream. It's all about creating a more sustainable business model for making apps in the Pi network. And that will hopefully lead to more and better apps and a stronger ecosystem overall.
It's true. If developers can make a living from this, they're more likely to pour their time and energy into it to make awesome Pi apps. But what about during the enclosed network period? I mean, they can't pay out in Pi yet, can they?
No, not until after Open Network. You're right. So in the meantime, they'll be getting paid in USD or something equivalent to USD. Based on how things are usually done in the advertising world is how they're getting things started.
It makes sense. It lets developers jump in, learn the ropes, and start making some money even before Pi is being traded openly. And then there's this unified ad framework.
Yeah, what's the deal with that?
It seems like before developers could find their own ads. But the quality wasn't always so great. People were complaining about seeing junky ads, ads popping up in annoying places, and even some that might have been scams.
Right. And that stuff can totally ruin the experience for people using Pi apps. Makes them not want to use them.
Yeah, exactly. So the Pi ad network is their way of fixing this. They want to get ads from better sources, companies with a good reputation that will follow the rules about user privacy and data, and they'll be held accountable for the quality of their ads. The goal is a better, more consistent, and more trustworthy experience all around.
So it's about more than just making money. It's about making sure the ads in the Pi network are actually good and trustworthy. That benefits everyone.
Okay.
Okay, so let's shift gears again. Think about you, the person listening right now, the Pi user. What does this whole thing mean for you?
Well, we touched on it earlier, platform level utility. It should help everyone who holds Pi because it creates more demand for it naturally. If advertisers need Pi to run their ads, well, that gives people a reason to want Pi and to use it.
And that means the Pi you have could become more valuable. Plus, going back to the ads themselves, using a unified framework with better sources should make things better for everyone.
Yeah, no one likes seeing those awful ads or the ones that feel sketchy. It's like a chain reaction, too. When developers can earn money, they'll build more and better Pi apps.
And that means pioneers will have more places to actually use their Pi to buy things and get services. It all ties together. It's bigger than just seeing ads. It's about building a network where Pi has real value. So now let's get into the details of how they're testing this on Fireside Forum. Why did they pick that app?
Well, it seems pretty logical. Fireside Forum, social media app, ads are already everywhere on social media, so people are used to it.
Right. It's not out of place there. And another important thing, for testing, Fireside Forum already works with the Pi Platform SDK, just like all those other apps that developers are making. So it's the perfect environment to make sure the ad network integrates properly from a technical standpoint.
It's like they're using their own tech to test itself in a real-world setting. Very clever.
Totally. And the third reason, well, Fireside Forum is made by the core team themselves, so they can test things out super fast, get feedback, fix bugs, all without having to deal with someone else.
Makes perfect sense. So how are they actually doing this on Fireside Forum? What's it like for the people using the app?
The ads on Fireside Forum are doing something specific. Beyond just testing the network, they're giving people who haven't done KYC yet, and new users, a way to earn a special type of Fireside Forum token.
So not Pi tokens themselves?
No, these are just for Fireside Forum. You get it by watching ads.
I see. So what can people do with these tokens in the app?
They can use them to post stuff, comment, and interact. Do things like adding fire to posts. But here's the important part. You can't turn them back into Pi or use them for tipping. Yeah, that's important to remember. And it fixes a problem they had before. Back then, if you wanted to really participate in Fireside Forum, you pretty much needed to have done KYC and moved to mainnet, because that's how you could buy tokens with Pi.
It makes the whole thing much more open. Includes everyone, even people who are new to Pi or haven't finished KYC. Getting more people involved and engaged is crucial for any social media platform.
Right. And it's all happening right before Pi Day. They even mentioned that in the announcement. They've got Pi Day events planned in Fireside Forum. Now everyone can take part.
Which is great. It makes Pi Day on the app much more inclusive. Speaking of the bigger picture, how are they planning to roll this Pi ad network out to the whole ecosystem?
Well, first, there's the pilot program we've been talking about. On Fireside Forum, they're testing everything, making sure the SDK integrates right, getting feedback from the developers, and squashing any bugs.
So that's happening now. What's next?
Then they'll open it up, make the SDK available to all the community developers out there during the enclosed network period. They'll give them all the technical stuff they need, instructions and guidelines for putting ads in their apps. And like we said, during this time, developers will be getting paid in USD or something similar.
So everyone's got time to get ready, start using the ad network and making money before Open Network even launches. Seems like a good motivator.
Yeah.
And after Open Network, what's the end game?
That's when it all comes together, the whole vision. Advertisers will have to use Pi to pay for ads on Pi apps in the Pi browser, maybe even other places in the Pi ecosystem. And the developers, they'll be getting paid in Pi too.
Brings us right back to that core idea of making Pi genuinely useful within its own world. Okay, last thing, let's zoom out. Look at the big picture. Why is this Pi ad network such a big deal for the whole Pi network?
This is a huge step. It's them moving toward large-scale, real-world use for Pi and making the whole network sustainable. They're not just saying hold on to Pi anymore, now there's a reason to use it. Advertising is a core function of the ecosystem, and it needs Pi.
And they make it clear that this only works if everyone's on board. They say it relies on all of us.
It's true. The Pi network, the whole thing, depends on both the people using it and the developers building on it. Everyone needs to be active and participate. This ad network is designed to make sure everyone benefits.
And this is just the start. It's the first time they're doing this platform-level utility thing. Who knows what they'll come up with next?
You're right. This could be the model for all kinds of new apps and services that make use of Pi Network's huge size and all the resources it has.
So for everyone listening, the best way to understand this is to see it for yourself. Open up your Pi browser and check out the Fireside Forum app. That's where you can see the Pi ad network in action.
Exactly. Seeing it with your own eyes will give you a glimpse into where the Pi ecosystem is headed and how all these new features work.
All right. To sum it all up, the Pi ad network is a big strategic move by the Pi network. They want to give their cryptocurrency real-world value. They're doing that by connecting advertisers with their massive user base and at the same time giving the developers who are building Pi apps a way to make money. The goal, make things better for everyone involved. They're aiming for higher quality ads, and they're making Pi a key part of the advertising process.
And it's happening in stages. First, they're testing everything carefully on their own Fireside Forum app, then they'll open it up to all the developers, and finally, once Open Network is live, the whole system will run on Pi. Advertisers will pay with Pi, and developers will earn in Pi.
It's pretty amazing to think about. The Pi network is huge, and now they're making these moves toward real-world use. It makes you wonder what other innovations they'll come up with in the future. What else could they do with this huge, engaged community? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
You're welcome. It's been fun.
Until next time.
See you then.